Quick disclaimer before the show starts. This was our first attempt at recording a podcast, so there are some audio issues that I promise you were so much worse before I cleaned it up and made it headphone safe. We have very different voices, so recording both of us on the same microphone turned out to be a little bit of a trick. I have a plan for next time. It will be cleaner next time. But hey, support on Patreon and we can get a second microphone. It'll be squeaky clean. It'll be perfect. You'll love it. Anyway, enjoy the show. Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to Yap Schtudio. I'm Austin.
I'm Emily.
And we're going to be talking about...
Project Hail Mary.
That's right, Project Hail Mary. We went to go see it, we're going to pretend yesterday, even though it was a week and a half ago.
It was a minute ago. It was...
Our memories are strong. We've got this. We both read the book and we watched the movie.
Yes.
Book was your call. You.
Yes, my friend recommended it to me, and so we took a plunge and
yeah, you threw it at me. You're like,
yeah.
Hey, read something. I was pretty engaged. It was a really good book. The movie, I feel like they did a pretty good job of adapting it.
Yeah.
What did you think about it compared to the book?
I really liked it. I thought they did a great job. I feel like if you didn't read the book, maybe there were some points where you didn't quite understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I feel like having read the book, I think that I kind of gleaned more than what a normal viewer might see first time around watching the movie.
Totally. I get what you mean. It's like what happened with The Martian. I didn't read that book, but I heard that there's a lot more like specific science in that book than what actually appears in the movie. And yeah. I definitely felt that going on with Project Hail Mary. I don't think it detracts from the experience,
right,
for somebody who hasn't read the book. So
yeah.
It just kind of feels like a friendly nod.
Yeah, absolutely.
But overall, I mean, it was really entertaining.
Yes. Definitely.
The spectacle of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so pretty.
It was.
Yeah.
They did a great job with that.
I mean, you see, like, we got kind of a vague description in the book of, we'll keep it spoiler free, where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It wasn't actually a super. That's not really where Andy Weir gets sucked down the rabbit hole. His rabbit hole is all like science mumbo jumbo and buzzwords and lingo and shit like
right.
that. That's kind of where he ends up. And the movie definitely played a lot more with the visuals that he kind of leaves up to the reader's imagination most of the time.
He does. He did kind of like he leaves it pretty vague.
Yeah.
Gives you like a suggestion of where to go, and then he lets you kind of do the imagining from there.
Right. Yeah, you kind of fill in the gaps. But like one scene in particular, really all he said was a green glow, and that's kind of all you really get of the description of what the main character Grace is looking at. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, it's just this overwhelmingly beautiful spectacle. So what did you... I mean, is there anything... before we get out of the spoiler-free section that you want to say about it?
I don't have much to say in the spoiler-free section. I really can't say.
We recommend it.
Yes, we do. And it's really incredible to see. It's always fun to see, like between a book and a movie, how like a movie is able to do so much with the visual aspect of mm-hmm. things and is able to kind of carry away with that versus the book you need to like... They just kind of give you suggestions again, like I said. So
okay, before we get out of spoiler-free performances, the main characters did a really good job. What's his fucking name?
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. That's the guy.
Oh my god.
Ryan Gosling, big superstar, did a really good job. Part of it for me, I mentioned to you, like I already knew he was going to be playing Grace.
Right.
Going into the book, so I was kind of picturing him and his cadence the whole time while I was reading the book. But it also, like, he really fits that role.
He does, and like I didn't know myself that he was going to be the one playing him. Like I don't think I quite realized that. I mean, like he was all over posters and stuff,
sure.
But I didn't quite put two and two together. So when
you've got the face blindness, so maybe like it just wasn't even clicking.
Yeah, it was all Mobius. But I really enjoyed reading it and then finding that it was him, and the way that he played it seemed so similar to what I had imagined, not really realizing that it was going to be him.
Yeah, he really took it on. Like he embodies that character extremely well.
Yeah, he does.
There was his kind of like foil character in the story is, and I mean like in the first leg of the story.
Right.
She is different in the movie.
Yes.
The actress did a great job of portraying the character she was given. It is not exactly the character as it appears in the book, but I think she did a really good job.
Yeah.
Like, no, absolutely no fault to the actress, and it's a fairly minor criticism that we'll get into after we're out of the spoiler-free section.
Mm-hmm.
But the change to the character, I think she kind of took it in stride, you know?
Yeah, no, I think she did a great job with it. I think that, she was given a certain direction and she took it that way, and that was all that's all you can really do with something like that, is you have to kind of follow it through and really make it yours and take it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Aside from the characters, I thought the art direction was really spectacular as well.
Oh my god. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of get boxed in with a set like Spaceship.
Yeah.
Especially like realistic human Earth space program Spaceship has like a kind of guaranteed aesthetic.
Exactly. They did have one part of the ship though that was really neat.
Yeah.
That screen that kind of went all the way around.
That was so cool.
Entire room that was just a screen, which was really cool to see.
Which was not really like, that was a very like creative interpretation of what was described in the book.
Yes.
Because that room did exist in the book, but it felt much more like a typical like command module of a spaceship.
Right.
Or of a space shuttle.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it was this like beautiful spectacle that they used for these like really touching and grand scenes where he was like opining for home.
Yeah.
It was a really, really cool use of that space.
Agreed.
They ended up kind of repurposing like a lot of the stuff that happened in that room. They moved to another room.
Yes.
Right? They kind of split the command room into two separate spaces that they could use those displays for those like really aesthetic moments.
Yeah.
It was cool. I think they like, you kind of get boxed in when you're adapting a book.
You do. Yeah. And there's only so much you can do to really like give the watcher, the viewer, something to latch on to.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it's hard to like make it your own.
Yeah.
Without moving too far away from the source material.
Exactly.
Which is like, I mean, not to go on a tangent here, but like when people talk about like comic book adaptations, and you know I'm going off on my rant. When people talk about comic book adaptations and video game adaptations and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, well, it's not like exactly what I saw in the comic book. Yeah, I mean, you've got artists that are making something, they want to impress their own style, their own opinions on it.
Exactly. It's full of artists, and you can't expect an artist to just copy and paste what they've already seen. Exactly. Like, that's not how that works. That's not art.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really, you can't expect that from anybody.
Yeah, you should kind of look at an adaptation as like a conversation between the new artists that are making this interpretation of the story and the original artist. They're like, okay, I see what you're doing here. I want to add a little bit of this. I'd like to look at this like that. I want to, it's like, okay, but what if we looked at the story from this angle?
Right.
And especially when you're going from a book to a movie, I feel like you tend to move away from the cerebral and more towards like spectacle.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a choice there. Mm-hmm. I think that's, it's part of what that adaptation means. And it is something that you have to change, and it's something that you have to be prepared to change.
Yeah. It's kind of like your role as the production team that's adapting a book, to look at like where the gaps were in terms of like visual representation and use those pockets to really bring your own voice to it.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of that.
I think they really did.
Yeah.
I think they did a great job.
Okay. I think that probably covers it, right?
I think so.
Okay. Now we can talk spoilers. Okay. So let's actually start with the thing that we already mentioned, which is, what is her name?
Eva Strat?
Strat. Yes. Strat is different in the movie.
Yes.
I would say, like, in our conversations after we left it, after we left the theater, Strat was kind of the biggest negative after we say all these positive things about how hard it is to adapt and that you have to put your own voice on it. Immediately, I'm gonna shit talk just a little. But I mean, you agree, right?
I do agree. I didn't quite like the change that they made with her. I wasn't.
So I mean, like, I don't want to hog all the time. So talk about what she did.
So
or what they did with her.
Yeah. So what they did basically was that they took her and they made her a little more likable. And I didn't.
There's not really another way to put it.
No, there's not. And they made her, you know, a little more sympathetic of a character, and I don't think that she needed that.
I feel like her whole role in the story was to be like a force of nature. She wasn't a person, really.
She's really more just there to push the plot forward, like you said, and not really. There's not really any personality there, and I don't think that she needed the personality.
I feel like she was supposed to not have it. Like, to get a little, the curtains are blue on us here, like, it kind of feels like she was supposed to represent the idea of government overreach.
Right.
Right? Like, she was government overreach personified.
Yeah.
The whole idea, in the book at least, is that Strat has been imbued, which they didn't even really get into this in the movie. She just kind of appeared as a government figure. They mentioned a couple of times that she had a lot of connections. But in the book, it's explicitly stated that Strat was chosen by a UN committee to basically be given unilateral control over, like, every federal government, every military, every research and development department of every government in the world.
Right.
And that's obviously absurd. But the premise of the book kind of justifies that. Right?
Right. But I can see where they're coming from, where they're like, they wanted to make her something that was actually a person so that people could kind of relate to her and actually understand her versus having her just be this robot that was not as believable as a character.
Yeah, because, I mean, we get into this thing where stuff just plays differently in a book than it does in a movie.
Yeah.
Right? In a book, when a character is kind of just a walking metaphor, you can accept that because you don't have to see them interact with people. And when you're in a movie environment, I feel like a lot of the angle of character representation in a movie is to show how a person could be like this.
Right.
And so when they tried to do that with Strat in the movie, it involved a sort of like just giving her kind of a feeling of like loss. Like she used to have a humanity that isn't there anymore. Like they do the singing scene.
They indeed did the singing scene.
I much preferred their scene together right before that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the scene.
Yeah, no, that the scene where they were together on the front of the ship and they had a little conversation between them.
Mm-hmm.
That made a lot more sense to me than having her just belt out a karaoke song.
It was so weird. It just felt really weird.
It was weird. And I understand that it was supposed to be the follow-up to that scene where they were outside and they were talking, and it was like, okay, now here's her humanity. Here's her humanity a little more. Look at how she's really a person. But it was like, it was a little bit of too little too late as well. You know, because there's only so much time you can spend on her. And if you try to make her this complete person...
You don't have time.
You don't have time.
You don't have time. Yeah, and either you make her a whole person and basically completely change her role in the story.
Right.
Or you don't. And I think maybe we could have gotten away with just that little scene with her and Grace standing out on the aircraft carrier and just having a bonding moment where he's like, oh my God, you are actually a person under all of that.
Right.
And I think that would have been enough to make the point without then having her go, because she can have that quiet moment of vulnerability.
Yes.
In front of one person.
Yes.
But then, I mean, you take it to the karaoke scene.
It was just too much. And it dragged on for so long.
So long, it made me so uncomfortable.
It was like a full 2 minutes of her just singing.
Why?
And making eye contact with him, and it was just...
It was romantic.
It was, and I did not like that.
I didn't like that either. And here's where we can actually jump to the ending, right? Because if you lay those romantic seeds, then we're expecting him to come back and get to be with her, and everything is fine. Spoilers. That's not how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Right? It's not how the book ends. It's not how the movie ends. The story ends with Grace living on another planet
And
with no contact.
And the whole point is that he is what he cares about is teaching and his kids and, you know, making that's his whole personality.
That's his family.
Yeah. And he doesn't have room for a romantic relationship. That's not really what he's looking for.
And there was that throwaway line with him and Rocky, which I have a lot to say about Rocky. We'll get to Rocky in a moment. He was wonderful. But there was a great little moment that I actually learned was improv. Did I mention this to you? The moment when he and Rocky are talking about Rocky's mate, which is in the book.
Right.
But there's an added line there where Grace says he does have somebody that left him, which is, I believe, not in the book. I don't think he says that in the book.
I don't know that he says that. Yeah.
And I know that they at least improv'd the version of that scene that we saw, at the very least, but I believe they improv'd that whole edition, where he says, you know, I used to have somebody, she's with somebody else now, and Rocky says, who's she with? And he says, Mark, and Rocky says, Rocky hate Mark. It's great. I love it. But it's like, it kind of adds a layer to him that isn't there in the book, but it's like, it's not there in the book in a way that's purposeful. Right? Like, again, the whole story, Andy Weir wrote this whole story around a guy who leaves Earth forever and loses all of humanity, but remains happy and keeps the one thing in the world that's important to him.
Yeah. And I don't know that he needed romance as much as he needed a friend. And that's what he got.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they were starting to say, like, maybe the angle that the filmmakers were going for was, well, she could be his friend. Like Strat could be his friend. Like, maybe they were trying to say that, they weren't trying to say that that was romantic.
Right.
It felt very romantic.
It felt romantic. I mean, if you're doing karaoke and you're singing and you're just staring at a person singing,
that's a romantic scene.
That's pretty romantic.
You know what I mean?
I don't know that I don't know that you could see that any other way.
I don't either. It's like there are basics of film language, right? Eye contact is significant for, like, communicating romantic interest.
It really
Long stares across a crowded room. Like, I mean, what are we doing? Don't Stop Believin' here? Like, it means romance. That's just what it means. And I guess the only real perk we got out of that is they gave us enough care for Strat to justify the final scene where we get to see the state of Earth after what would it have been? I guess based on the way the book describes it, it would have been like 12 or 14 years of an onset ice age.
Yeah, I think so.
So there at the end we do get to see something you don't see even described in the book, which is the state of Earth after all of this.
And they did make a choice to have those video logs that he was actually communicating back to them.
I had a feeling they were going to do that. We talked about this before the movie.
We did.
Because it's all in his head in the book. He talks to himself all the time.
But there's the added component of he sent those logs back to Earth, whereas in the book, I don't think that he sent any information other than the farms and the
data.
Instructions about how to use them.
Right.
I don't think that he sent back anything that was like, hey, I found an alien, you know, like a real alien. I don't think that he said anything like that.
You don't think he even told them?
I don't know. I mean, that wasn't even in there.
Okay, he would have had to tell them, though, right? Because he sent back stuff that contained material that makes no sense to human science, the xenonite.
Right.
And he sent back, and it also had iridium steel on it.
It did.
So they would have definitely seen that something weird happened. I agree. They did not say, like Andy Weir did not say in the book that he specifically communicated any of that, as far as I remember. But I would think he would have had to say something, right?
I mean, I don't know how you do that, how you, like, experience that and then you don't say anything.
Oh, right. I forgot to tell you guys. I met intelligent life from another planet. Another star system, no less. Yeah, I feel like he probably mentioned something, but no, they don't really talk about it.
No, they don't.
But what you have with those video logs is you have a way for them to, for Grace to send emotions home instead of just data.
Yeah.
right? It makes it more, I don't know, it gives it more heart, like what's happening at the end when he's sending the Beetle probe back to Earth with all that information.
Mm-hmm.
He's also sending, like, record of his adventure, basically.
Right, exactly.
And that, I can kind of see, justifies needing somebody we care about to receive that message.
Right.
But I do think making her somebody we care about and somebody he has a growing connection with, I think that undermines the peace that he feels when he disconnects from Earth.
Yeah.
You know? And
there's a certain amount of peace that he has.
yeah, he like reaches a zen even when he thinks he's just gonna die.
Yeah. He's still fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like there's no question of like is he happy? Is he gonna, and there's no question of that.
Yeah. And I feel like the movie relies on the betrayal of forcing him onto the ship. Mm-hmm. Big spoilers. The betrayal of forcing him onto the ship, I think, is supposed to like wash away any budding connection that he had with Strat.
Right.
And I don't know if it's enough. Like, yeah. It's super fucked up what she does to him.
Especially with the way that they played that scene. It felt like she felt really bad for him.
She had so much remorse.
Yeah, and I don't think in the book she had that much remorse.
I think in the book, I mean, she had some guilt about what she was doing, but they had just had that conversation, which is like what they used to turn into their connection moment in the movie. But they had that conversation where he says, like, how do you handle sending people to their death? And she says that it's difficult, but I have to.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. She's like, I don't struggle with it because it has to be done.
Right.
Is basically, I don't know what the actual word choice was, but that's basically what she says.
She did, yeah.
And in the movie, she looks like she's about to start crying.
Yeah, no, they really played it up in the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I quite agree with that.
Yeah, and that could be anything from like the way the actors interpreted the scene, like, once you get on set, the way it's scripted kind of takes on a life of its own,
right.
Like what the actors do with it after it's in their hands. You can't, I mean, otherwise you're again preventing people from doing their art.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of the fun and excitement of filmmaking. It's this big collaborative project where you don't have a singular perspective. You have a bunch of people all bringing their own intent and personality to every little aspect of everything, and you end up with like a much more vivid tapestry.
Yeah.
But in an adaptation, you lose some things.
Yes.
That's the trade-off.
Yeah.
So, I like to try to look at it as its own thing, not like the book as a movie.
Right.
Because that doesn't exist. And when it does, it's fucking boring.
It really is. Yeah, it doesn't play well because it's completely different media.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for it to be the exact same because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and I think people hear like, well, if you like the book so much, read the book again, and they're like, well, that's not what I want to be included in the movie experience too. And it's like, right, but like then this is the movie. The book is the book and the movie is the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And you need to open yourself up to understanding that it is an adaptation.
Yeah, and this may not honestly be the best example for me to get on that particular soapbox, because they did a really good job of staying true to the spirit of the book for like 99% of it.
They did.
They dropped some of the science, which is understandable. Just sitting there and running through all of that like technical jargon is boring on screen.
It is.
It's interesting in a book because you're kind of watching him figure things out, But like in a movie, it's so much more passive, So you can just kind of like tune out while the problems are being solved and then check back in. So they spare you all of that, and it's just kind of implied what he's figuring out.
Yeah.
Like we have the lab on the ship, we see the centrifuge work. They mention the centrifuge. They build the chain. We see the whole elaborate mechanism that throws the links of the chain out into the atmosphere of Adrian as all of that's happening. Mm-hmm. Like it's beautifully interpreted, but you lose all of the explanation of what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And they didn't even mention... I feel like they could have mentioned that Rocky's atmosphere is ammonia.
Oh my god, did they not even say that?
They did not even say that.
It was in my head so much that I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, they didn't mention it at all.
So it wasn't... All they said was, my atmosphere is toxic to him and his atmosphere is toxic to me.
Yeah, basically.
They didn't mention the heat either, did they?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the book, their, like, atmospheric temperature is... What was it? It was like...
I don't remember.
It was, like, above the boiling point of water, I think. Like, it's hot.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, in the movie... then again, not doing that and making the Xenonite suit so that he could go see the spaceship, the alien spaceship, was a scene that I had really hoped for in the book.
Yeah.
That I didn't get. And again, that connects back to the awesome screen dome room. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, they had that whole scene in there where they were, I think they were celebrating their victory, right? And they had the party hats on. That scene exists in the book, where Rocky puts on his party clothes, and which are adorable in the movie. They do a great job. And Grace puts on the party hat, and then you have this whole, like, celebratory moment between the two of them.
Right.
They took their opportunity, again, as a visual medium, right? Because in the book, if you say, well, he never got to see the ship, it's a bummer, but it's also not much of a loss from the perspective of the reader.
Right.
In the movie, you gotta see the ship.
Right.
Like, you gotta show it.
Although...
Go ahead.
I didn't really like the design of the ship.
No, me neither.
We saw it, and it was like, okay, great, we get to see it, but I just didn't like it.
I mean, for one, and again, this is me doing exactly what I'm saying you shouldn't do. In the book, it's explicitly, again, this is a guy who does not do a lot of physical description. We are not talking about a Tolkien or a George R.R. Martin that, like, spends forever talking about the shape of a teacup.
Right.
Like, this is like, okay, and the planet left a green glow on their faces, and it was beautiful. And that's, like, kind of all he says about it.
Right.
But he describes the ship. Like, when Blip A arrives, he says it's a massive, blocky ship made of flat panels with sharp corners.
Yes.
He says all of that because it's scientifically relevant.
Yes.
Like, he brings that up, not for the visual description, but for the fact that, like, as far as we know, technologically, that shouldn't work. Because the sharp corners would blow out with atmospheric pressure. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what, like, starts the whole conversation about what the hell xenonite is and why that material is so powerful and all of that. But then we're left with the knowledge of what the ship looked like.
Right.
And when we get to it in the movie...
It's, like, made out of pipes or something. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It's made out of, like, a bunch of pipes next to each other. It looks like it could be an instrument. I mean, like, it... Actually,
kind of looks like they were thinking of it that way. Because it was, like, sending signals with vibrations along the whole thing, it kind of felt like. But it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah. And, like, again, it's a ship that wouldn't work in space, as far as we know, with the technology that we have.
Yeah, because I don't think it didn't even look fully enclosed.
No, it didn't. It was very confusing.
It looked like it was made out of, like, scaffolding.
Yeah. It was very strange.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of that.
It almost feels like they were the way they decided to take Rocky is that he doesn't need air at all.
Right.
Which I don't agree with. They didn't say that, so we can kind of just brush over it and assume that whatever rooms we saw in the spaceship, beyond that, there's some sort of enclosing structure. But you couldn't see it from outside, you couldn't see it from inside. So, I don't know. But, like, it's just not an important part of the story.
Yeah.
So I understand, again, taking your own perspective on it and making changes and doing something that you think is going to be a visual spectacle.
Yeah. I understand it. I don't agree with it.
No, neither do I. Yeah. I mean, and that's the separation, right? Is like we're not saying it's wrong exactly. Just that it's not the choice we would have made.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's something where I would have said, okay, it's one of the few things we have an actual physical description of.
Right.
We should do that.
Yeah.
I also pictured Xenonite very different.
Yeah, it was more like a crystalline structure, where I would have expected it to be more of like a... Like, I kind of imagined it kind of like plastic almost.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was like
moldable
and like, yeah, exactly, like acrylic. That was like smooth and everything like that wasn't like sharp and jagged.
Yeah, in the book when they describe his like tunnels around the ship, I was imagining these almost like massive rounded cornered air vents that were like piped all around the walls of the ship, and then the areas that were sectioned off for him was just one flat wall, like cutting off an area of the ship for Rocky to live in.
Right.
And in the movie, they went with these, like, well, how would you describe them?
I think it was like crystal. It was...
Yeah, but like the overall structure was like these big flat panels with like almost like a stained glass.
Yeah, it was almost like a stained glass. It was more like a plastic sheeting, like a tarp, than it was like solid feeling.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Really?
Yeah, I think like they had parts of it that were flexible. Like he had a spot he could reach out and interact with things, but the way I was looking at it, again, using information from the book as like part of my driving of the understanding of what the hell I was looking at. In the book, Xenonite has like a bunch of different forms. There's like a transparent form, there's a heat resistant form, there's like all these different things that it can be sort of tweaked like a metal alloy.
Right.
To be repurposed for different things. In the movie, it's not even clear that the ship is made out of Xenonite. Like, it seems like Xenonite is just the transparent crystalline material. And that's the only thing that is actually Xenonite. But, like, the canister that he gets in the beginning is supposed to be Xenonite. He does... No, I'm wrong. He scans it and says that it's made of xenon.
He does.
So they do address the fact that it takes on different forms. They just kind of blow by it. But it's just so much... I can't fault them for that.
No, there's just so much that... But, again, why did we need to spend 2 minutes on karaoke? There was so much that was, you know, like that needed to be explained.
A karaoke machine.
There was so much that they needed to put and cram into that movie, and then they spend 2 full minutes on karaoke.
Yeah, I don't.
That was just I don't know.
It seemed like an inefficient use of time.
It did. Anyway.
Yeah. That aside, so the Xenonite, the issue that I took with it in the movie was, I think, like, what we imagine Xenonite, and especially the transparent Xenonite, to look like, would have been more effective on screen. And this is where, like, we start to get into the neighborhood where I'm willing to say it was, like, an actual bad decision. Because there are moments where it's, like, structured. Like the frame is composed such that you've got, like, Rocky on one side of the Xenonite and Grace on the other. A ton of scenes, like in the scene where Rocky is dying, and in the scene where they're like first interacting, and when they sleep next to each other, and all of that stuff. We have several scenes where it's each of them divided by the Xenonite wall, and because of this like prism structure of the Xenonite barriers, there's so much refraction that you can barely see what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Like I just... It looked really cool until we needed to see through it. Right. Until it was, like, important that we saw through it.
Yeah.
And then it was just...
But is that a decision to, like, kind of hide the fact that he's a puppet? Like, is that because, you know, like, when they do a really dark scene because they don't have the VFX budget for it kind of thing? Like, is that what that was happening there?
I mean, maybe. It certainly didn't seem like they were hurting for budget.
True.
And, I mean, with all of the lengths... Actually, we're going to step away from talking shit for a minute. Oh, my God. If he doesn't win awards for that puppeteering, I'm going to riot.
Oh, it was amazing.
Oh.
He looked so good.
Rocky was alive.
Yes.
Like, that was some of the best puppeteering I have seen in ages. It was so good. I don't know. I actually haven't looked up. I had time before we did this, but I should have, and I didn't. I don't know if that was Henson, like Henson's shop, or where, like who was doing that puppeteering. But oh my god, absolutely phenomenal.
It was incredible. He looked so alive. And all the movements going with the sounds that he was making and like all the speeches, and it was perfect. Mm-hmm. I was so immersed in it, I didn't even realize it was a puppet.
Yeah, you completely lose yourself in like the reality of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And he also did, you mentioned the like synchronizing with the sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
When it gets to the point where we've got the robotic voice taking over for Rocky, and you've got like the dirty, dirty, dirty as he's walking around the room and stuff like that. That was being performed by the puppeteer. Right. Live on set.
That's so crazy.
So you get this synchronization that you don't get as well when you're doing like a voiceover match.
Right.
To a performance on screen. There's a certain like limitation that comes with, it's how they did old school cartoons back in the day, and it's what they still have to do now for like looping or ADR on movies. Is you have to go in there and you have to match a timing with like a lip sync, or in the case of Rocky, it would be with movements, right? And have it feel like it's still an organic performance.
And you just lose some of that naturally because you have to, like, part of your brain has to be focused on, okay, am I getting this timing right? And you're not able to really immerse yourself in the character.
Exactly, and it pulls you out of the acting of it all.
Yeah.
And you end up being, the performance just always comes out a little more robotic.
Right.
Yeah. And especially with Rocky, I think it was important that computer voice didn't sound too robotic.
Yes.
Because he's not a robot.
No, he's not. He's a full person.
Yeah.
Well, not a person, but he's
he's a person. He's not a human.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
He was great. I really don't have any complaints about Rocky at all.
No.
Some things about his appearance were different than what I had imagined. I think they were better than what I imagined. Whereas with the Xenonite, I think art department maybe missed a couple of notes.
Got a little carried away.
But with Rocky,
no, and he was much cuter than I expected. He
was
too.
Adorable.
Oh my god, the way that I was imagining him, he was much creepier, because he was described as similar to a spider, and so I was thinking like spider but rock. And that was a little disturbing, and
Yeah, I see what you mean. They did manage to get a little bit. They had like a proper jump scare with his hand on the glass.
They did. That got me.
That got me too. I was not prepared for a jump scare in that movie. It was cool. They did a good job.
They did.
Yeah, I really have like zero complaints about Rocky. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
The one thing that I was kind of surprised by, I guess, was the fact that it goes back to the Xenonite. The fact that they put him in the ball so often.
Yeah.
Like in the book, he had built tunnels all over the ship so that he had access to the entire ship.
Right.
Without having to be in the ball. And then in the movie, they're like, yeah, but if we do the ball, it can be a little more like freeform. We don't have to have him locked into certain areas. I think that had something to do, like, you do puppeteering because then you can have more improvisation.
Right. Yeah.
If it's a CG character, you're kind of locked into what the plan was.
I think it makes sense that they had him in the ball for the movie. I think it did. I mean, it wasn't exactly what happened in the book, but I think that they needed to do that.
Yeah, I can see it. Well, and making the ball like more useful and more versatile justifies putting Grace in that Xenonite suit before he goes on to Rocky's ship.
Yeah.
So it was overall, I mean, again, you have to make concessions.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about the science a little bit.
Okay.
My favorite part of reading this book was looking at the little bit of scientific information I was being given and trying to guess what was going on. Like, at the very beginning of the book, we see a star, right?
Right.
We know that he sees a star like within surprisingly little distance of his ship.
Yes.
And I go, oh, wow. So they sent him all the way to the sun to study the sun, that's what he assumed also.
Right.
But I'm sitting there like, I mean, it literally can't be anything else because there's no way they were moving him fast enough in order to get there. And then Andy does this really good job. Like, I know him. You know, my guy Andy. He does this really good job of slipping in some bullshit here and there just to make it make sense. And like in this case, obviously his golden ticket for all of that bullshit is the astrophage.
Yes.
Right? He has created this microbe that answers all of his narrative problems. We don't spend as much time talking about what they are, but they are still made very pivotal to everything that's happening. And I do think they did a pretty solid job of conveying that. In the book, we know that the nitrogen, or that the astrophage can escape through the xenonite.
Yes.
We learn that after they've separated. But we know in our heads that Rocky does know what's going on. But there's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah.
Like you have those two pieces of information delivered to you separately, which I think makes it a little more impactful. Right? Because then as soon as we know it's happening to Grace, we know it's happening to Rocky, but we know what's happening to Rocky. We know that the astrophage, or that the amoeba, sorry, I've been saying astrophage the whole time.
Taumoeba?
That Taumoeba is the thing that's bred to escape.
Yes.
Right? So we know that the Taumoeba can escape and eat all the astrophage. That happened once already. So when there's another shutdown, you have this sinking feeling of like, oh God, here we go again, and now he doesn't have help.
Right.
And you kind of feel that way about both of them.
Yeah.
Right? Because they needed each other to solve that problem.
They did. Well,
and with all the like emotional resonance that you get from knowing that Rocky is in danger, like that all plays really heavily on like how he impresses on the reader / viewer, right? And like how he is as a character, and like what his skill set is, and like what his personality is, what his needs are. Yeah. And I think they did a pretty decent job of conveying him in the movie. They definitely changed his role a little bit.
They did. I don't want to. I see now we're getting into something not positive again, but
But we can use it to branch into what was good.
Yes, we can. But he's such a brilliant engineer, and I don't know that they really emphasize that enough.
No.
Because he was really like a driving force. They were working together to fix this problem. And to me, it felt like a lot of that was just Grace fixing the problem. Whereas in the book, it was like more of a collaborative effort.
Honestly, another reason why the first round of the Taumoeba outbreak is kind of unnecessary. Mm-hmm. Because in that moment, both of them solve the problem together.
Yes.
So.
But I mean, his character that came across was amazing.
The personality was spot on.
Yes, yeah, he was. Well, even though he was really not like as much of an engineer and like didn't really have as much of a say in what was going on as he did in the book, I think he was still really charismatic and really, like he really cared about Grace and everything like that, and they had a really good friendship.
Yeah, he brought like a lot of the heart.
Yeah, he did. So he had a great personality. And it really matched up what was in the book, and it really matched up what I kind of pictured him as. And he was really a best friend that Grace needed. That
he never had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a really touching story to say, like, he's just not the kind of guy who is very good at making friends.
Yeah.
And he came across somebody so much like him from so very, very far away. And they talk about that, like you see it in the like character moments between the two of them. But in the book, they also talk about the fact that like the two of them discuss why they're so similar.
Yeah.
And talk about that the fact that it's probably a panspermia situation, and these astrophage, or one of their cohorts, I guess, might be the microbe that came to each of their planets from which they both evolved.
Yeah.
Right.
And they agree on so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a lot, like they were on the same wavelength about so many different aspects of like how they're going to survive, to what they thought about the world, and like, it was really, they just really clicked on so many levels.
Yeah. It was really cool to see on screen what you kind of pictured in your head of them just kind of becoming a single combined unit.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that, like, again, we're talking about what's lacking with the minimal emphasis on Rocky's engineering skill. They mention it. It's in the dialogue.
It is. Yeah.
He says, like, he's an amazing engineer. He can fix anything. Like, he does say that. Mm-hmm. But I just don't feel like we see it quite enough. It's not missing.
Not quite.
It's absolutely not missing. I just would have liked to see him feel just a little more pivotal in the actual, like, manufacture of all of Grace's ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was the whole thing, was that Grace came up with the ideas, and then Rocky executed them perfectly.
Perfectly.
Like, that's the thing.
Yeah. It was basically assumed in the narrative that it was impossible for him to make an engineering mistake.
Yeah.
Which is why the outbreak of the Taumiba is so shocking. Because over and over and over and over again, leading up to that point in the story, his stuff doesn't break. His stuff doesn't break. His stuff doesn't break. It works every time. He can fix stuff from an alien race that he's never met.
Yes.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
He's not a scientific genius, but he is a mechanical genius. And I like that quality of his, and I think we could have spent a little more time on that instead of
karaoke. It all comes back to the karaoke.
It all comes back to the karaoke. Okay, so we're in the spoiler section. We've managed to talk about Rocky and everything that we couldn't talk about in the spoiler-free section. But at the beginning, we talked a little bit about what's shown in flashback, which is all of the, like, Project Hail Mary and the Hail Mary itself, and all of like how this came to be.
Exactly.
Right. And one of the things, a part of the reason I didn't want to talk about this yet is because what we see is his students, which I would like to reflect a little bit with the fact that he is with students again at the end of the movie. I would have liked to see, both in the movie and the book,
that one character,
that Abby. that little that shitty little kid, the know-it-all kid. I would have loved to see a little know-it-all Iridian. Oh, and also his instrument.
Have the organ. Oh my god.
His instrument. Yes. Okay. So in the book, if you've not read the book and you've only seen the movie, okay, you need to understand they maybe don't fully communicate this in the movie. I feel like it comes across, but maybe it doesn't. The Iridians communicate with this, like, series of notes and chords. Mm-hmm. They communicate basically musically.
Right.
They have, like, any sort of, like, if they do like a ooh, that's like a word. Exactly. And if that's made out of chords, it might be a more complicated word, or like a multi-worded idea or something like that. That's how they talk.
Exactly.
And over the course of the movie and the book, over the course of the story, we see Grace start to understand how they communicate. And then by the time it gets to the end, he's fluent. He can fully understand what they're saying, and the only communication barrier is just the fact that they have different speech organs.
Right.
So neither of them is physically capable of speaking the other's language. Mm-hmm. And so when he becomes a teacher for the Iridians,
he has an instrument. Yeah. And the instrument is, like, specifically, it's kind of like an organ where he has, like, foot pedals, and he has hand things that he can do, and he can really actually speak to them in their own language that he is also fluent in.
Yeah, and, like, really like the fluency is the most interesting part, because it's not something where he types in English and it spits out Iridian tones.
No.
He is playing Iridian speech.
Yes.
On this organ that they made for him. It's cool,
It's really cool.
I would have liked to see it.
And they didn't include it. I would have loved to see that.
That would have been really neat.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason I wanted to mention that is just like I liked seeing just that same warmth in his face. Mm-hmm. Like in the book, he says the same line he does in the movie.
Right.
But that is the reveal. Right? In the book, the reveal is the line. You see him, it describes that he walks up, and then you see little Iridians bouncing around, and it doesn't quite say what's happening. And then he says, "Who can tell me the speed of light?"
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh my God, they're his students." Which the goosebumps, literally. Like I love that moment. It's so sweet.
I cried at the ending.
It's just so touching.
Yeah.
Because like that's again, we talked about that's his family, that's his home, that's what matters to him. Yeah. And the reason I'm mentioning the difference in the movie is you see it in his face. Like when he walks up to them, he just had this whole like sort of melancholy, somber conversation with Rocky about whether or not he's going to go home. Mm-hmm. Right? And then in the book, Rocky says, "Are you going to go to work now?" And he goes to do his thing. They describe the organ, and you're like, okay, what the hell is going on? In this, you just see him kind of like saunter up to his podium, basically. It's not like really a podium, but like where he speaks to them. And I felt like you could really just see in his eyes that he's in front of a class again.
Yeah.
Like he just, that same energy that you see at the very beginning of the movie, where he is just in his element.
He has purpose. He's there. He's connected. It's all, you can really see it in his face. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just really kind of a magical version of that moment to see, like, you get what's happening before they show you because of Gosling's performance.
Yeah.
And like that, the credit for that goes entirely to him. Mm-hmm. He did a really great job of like, you believe it. You believe that that's what he's home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he did. And he was incredible.
He really did a great job. I have become more and more a fan of him as time has gone on. But yeah, these flashbacks, you know, like in the book, these flashbacks and figuring out where he is and why he's there and what happened, that's a really significant part of the book.
It is.
Like, it's in the book, you don't know what the totality of what the mission is until like halfway through.
Yeah.
And in the movie, they've covered the fact that astrophages are here. They're eating the Earth. He's been pulled into a science program to research what's going on. He is the one who discovered how they breed. And he was sent on the ship. Mm-hmm. They basically do everything but the reveal that Grace is a coward.
Right.
And they do all of that in 10 to 12 minutes.
It's quick.
It's fast.
It's very fast.
I mean, and not 10 to 12 minutes of movie time, 10 to 12 minutes of screen time. Yeah. Right? Because it is still intercut with his, like, experience of revealing the ship to himself, I guess. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to see more of the "Where am I?"
I feel like that also would have been a little boring too.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel like because there's only so much you can do with that.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have come across as boring.
Well, and this is another thing. You're right, because this is another thing that's very like cerebral. It's very in his head.
Yeah.
How do you even really show that?
Yeah.
They did the best they could with the whiteboard.
They did, and they tried not to use it too much.
They used it briefly enough to just, you see him write "Who am I?" on the board, and it's like, okay, fair enough. You got a point. I mean, there's only so much you can do with him going, "What's this? What's this? Where am I?" Like Jack Skellington.
There's a whole song about it. He does karaoke.
What's this? What's this? Astrophage in the air. So I do kind of get it, but I also missed it.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
I don't really know. I mean, can you think of a way that they could have done that and made it work?
I really don't know. I mean, that's really tough. Like you said, it's really cerebral. It's really about like I don't know how you would communicate that in a way that would not be boring to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate to say it, but you're right. Yeah, it would be a really dull sequence, or multiple sequences, honestly, if they were going to do it to the caliber that it's done in the book.
Yeah. I think they had to go with the more exciting moments.
Yeah.
And there's only so much time. So, like, if you're going to pack it in with, you know, everything that they had to cram into it, then you got to do the exciting moments.
And they did take the most exciting moments of his confusion.
Yeah,
right.
They did.
They did the initial. First of all, oh my god! So in the book, it's described like the first instant of the book is what's 2 + 2.
Yes.
Is the arms asking him what's 2 + 2, which we now know, right, is because the whole system is aware that he's been given an amnesia drug.
Yes.
And they need to make sure his brain is working before the arms let him loose in the ship. But in the book, it's exactly as it happens in the movie, and just again another compliment to Ryan Gosling's performance of just that initial when it's pulling the feeding tube out of his throat, and he just goes that noise that he makes is just perfect.
That noise was so perfect. It was so funny. Oh my god.
It was good. So we got that. We got him going into the cockpit and it saying pilot detected and him freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, we got that whole moment. The most exciting parts of his amnesia they did show.
Yeah. But it didn't quite come across as amnesia. It didn't.
Yeah.
So that was the thing, was that in the book there was a lot of every time he had a flashback, it was made very clear that, hey, this is him remembering more and more. And in the movie, I didn't feel like that came across as well. It kind of felt like he was just remembering things that happened to him and not not really discovering that was what was happening to him.
Yeah. Yeah. In the movie, the flashbacks feel more like just a typical movie flashback storytelling device.
Right.
It doesn't really feel that clear to us. And part of the problem there, I think, is that he didn't have anybody to talk to.
Yes.
Right? In the book, he's thinking. So we get the flashback, and then it cuts back to him, and then usually, at least for the first few, to kind of establish it to the reader, the first thing he says is, oh, okay, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he says to himself. We don't get that.
Yeah.
Let's spitball this one a little bit.
How we would do that?
Yeah, how would you do, like, let's do the first flashback. Right? Because the first scene in the movie is right?
Yes.
And then he sees the dead bodies of what are their names again?
I know the first name, Alessia, and the other one is Yao.
It's Yao, but what's Alicia's, her last name is like,
it's Ilyonka or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't get it right while I was saying it when I was reading the book, and then there was the correct pronunciation is in the movie, and it has left my brain entirely.
Yeah, no, it's gone now.
Ilyukna.
Is that what it was?
I think it was Ilyukna. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, that's embarrassing. I was so confident. Anyway, we don't get very much of them at all. I wasn't, like, super jazzed with that. But one of the things that they took away from them, again, another thing cut for time that I kind of understand, is their whole suicide thing.
Yeah.
Like, they had, and, for those who are unaware, the whole point of Project Hail Mary is that it was a suicide mission. They're sending people to another star system to send back data without enough fuel to return home.
Yeah.
Like, they will not survive. Now, the story changes because he bumps into Rocky. Rocky has extra fuel. They're able to get him home, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. But there was this whole conversation in one of the flashbacks in the book where
they were, like, explaining, like, if I am going to go out, then I'm not just going to starve to death on the ship. Like, I would want to have this method of suicide. So, yeah. Like, Ilyunka?
Ilyukna, I think.
Alessia, I'll just call her Alessia.
I thought it was Ilukina when I read it in the book. But I think it was Ilyukna.
But Alessia she wanted to go out with heroin overdose. And then I think
classy move.
Yeah. Yao wanted a gun, and then Dubois wanted to go out with nitrogen overdose.
Dubois.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dubois dies. Dubois dying is the whole reason that that Grace needs to go.
Yeah.
That's one of the things from the flashbacks that I think we were lacking. Obviously, we see them blow up. We see the explanation that there's nobody else to go. They say all of that. In the book, there was this like whole idea of a coma-resistant gene.
Yes.
Part of the journey is putting them in a medically induced coma to send them to another star system, because it's a 4-year trip with time dilation. You'd experience 4 years on the ship in a very small space. They were worried about people killing each other.
Yeah.
So the plan was to put them into a medically induced coma, right? And in the books, there's this whole idea of the coma gene, and it's incredibly rare. Very few people are able to like have a decent chance of surviving a medically induced coma for that long. But if you have this gene, you have really good odds.
Right.
Right? And they eliminated that from the movie. And I don't know if I agree with that decision.
I don't know if I agree with that either, because it was a really good point in the book of why they had to send Grace, why he was the only really option that was there. And I feel like that was kind of missing. And it was like, well, why can't you just send somebody else?
Yeah. Why can't you send any other like biologist astronaut?
Yeah, which
there are multitudes.
Which we've seen in the movie. We saw tons and tons of people who are working on this
project.
Loads
of researchers. So many people.
Yeah. So
that are not a high school teacher.
Exactly.
And the whole point in the book, first of all, with the coma gene, and second of all, with the betrayal from Strat, which, by the way, in the movie makes her look even more evil, because she didn't have to use him. In the book, she had to use him. In the book, when they learned about this coma gene, they had a whole like meeting basically where they were like, okay, well, let's have all of us tested for that gene first, just to be thorough. And it turns out that Grace has the gene. And when the betrayal happens, the reveal is she's like, yeah, well, I mean, as soon as I realized you had the gene, that's why you're still here.
Yeah.
That's why you were in every meeting. That's why you're a part of this whole thing. And I think the elimination of the coma gene is part of why they had to make her like him. Because he's not a tool, which means why is she keeping him around?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So I think part of the reason they needed her to like him is because it explains why he's still there. But then that conflicts with the betrayal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because there's anybody else you could have sent. You've got teams of researchers studying this stuff.
Yeah.
And the exact quote, he says, I'm not an astronaut. And they basically, well, it's not an exact quote, but they say, we can teach you to be an astronaut. We can't teach you to be an expert on astrophage.
Right.
And, right. So anybody, right? Anybody other than him? Like, I get that he's the guy that discovered how they breed, but, you know, the Chinese researchers used their spies to figure out what his method was and had perfected it before he even told anybody what it was.
Yeah.
So, clearly, although he was the guy that discovered it, he's not, like, the expert.
Yeah. There are plenty of other people.
He's an expert and one of the first and foremost researchers. But why does that mean he needs to go? Mm-hmm. That was really, like, if there's one actual problem with the book, or with the movie, that's my problem.
Right.
Is the story being told in the flashbacks undermines the overall plot. I don't know why we had to skip the coma gene.
Yeah, I
you
think
could do that with a throwaway line.
Yeah, it would have been really quick. It would have been as quick as the "this is how I want to die" by suicide kind of thing.
Yeah,
it could have been really quick. And
they did skip that. I mean, they made a joke about it, and that's kind of why I was bringing up the suicide methods. Is they made a joke about that, right? They're having that conversation, And Grace says to them, like, how are you guys so brave? How are you okay with this? And I think it's Yao says, like, it's not about bravery. It's just we have to do what we have to do. And Grace says, oh, well, I guess I just don't have that gene.
Right.
And I heard that line, and I'm like, they're not doing the coma gene. As soon as I heard that line, I'm like, you're not going to do a throwaway line like that when there's a whole subplot about a gene.
Yeah.
Because that's a weird connection to make. So that was just like a little nod to the idea of the coma gene, and then they just kind of eliminated it as a concept.
Right.
And that's the one thing I really, really, really don't agree with. Like, we crack jokes about the karaoke scene.
Yeah.
That's not breaking the movie.
No.
I do think this breaks the movie a little bit.
I would agree. I think that they really needed to put that in there, and it wouldn't have been a huge time suck to do so.
No, not at all. But, mistakes were made. It happens. there are some logical inconsistencies in the book, for sure. I don't have them off the top of my head right now, but I do remember drawing attention to them while we were reading. While I was reading. You finished the book first. But, yeah, I just think they could have kept that. I think it would have helped. And then we could have skipped. That's the fun thing, though, If we had done that, then there's a perfectly good reason why he was being kept around. We don't need her to like him. We don't need her to be a person, and we don't need her to fucking sing. So that's all I'm saying. No. What'd I say? We're doing positivity, right?
We're doing positivity. So positive.
I really, really don't like the fact that, like, media discourse online is largely about picking things apart and hating on them. That's why I do really like to spend time talking about what was great about it, and when I'm picking on something, I like to point out that it's a nitpick and that it doesn't ruin the film.
Yeah.
But I also think it's an oversight to not mention this issue.
Agreed. Yeah.
Like, it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ruins the whole film. I think it is bordering on being a plot hole. Not quite, but bordering.
It's right up against the edge.
It's right there. But it does not ruin the experience, and it's definitely a movie that's mostly focused on awe and spectacle.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a plot inconsistency like that isn't really even important.
No, because it was about, like, the images that they were really presenting to you, and like everything that was happening, and the moment on Adrian where they had all the astrophage, and it was so beautiful.
The I'm having a moment.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It was so well done. So I think there's a lot to be said about what was great about the movie and what they did right with all the spectacle and all the imagery that they were able to evoke with what they had and what limitations they had just being a guy on a ship in space. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, you've got a bottle story here where they have this extremely compact area where they're supposed to tell this really elaborate story.
Yeah.
And I mean, for the most part, they really did a good job of pulling that off.
They did. And
they leaned, like we've been saying this whole time, really heavily into the spectacle of it, which is the element that the book is lacking.
Yeah. And they made some really cool, not like decisions technically because it was in the book, but they were able to, like, make the ship do the centrifuge thing, and we got to see the ship open up and, like, start spinning up and doing all of the stuff that it was supposed to do.
I was really excited to see that mechanism work.
Yeah. It was really cool to see and to have that just visualized in front of you and not have to, like, imagine it for yourself.
Yeah.
Just have that spectacle. And
I love the part of reading where, everything looks as I imagine it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I work with what the writer gives me, and I kind of build the world out in my head. I'm a very, like, mental image person.
Same.
So yeah. I really like that opportunity, but there is a magic to going into the movie and then seeing what a whole team of other people saw in their heads.
Yeah.
And what it looks like to them and what it feels like to them. And again, moments like the infrared astrophage camera moment where he's floating around in the sea of astrophage, and the glow of Adrian, that's the green glow that we were talking about in the spoiler-free section, right? In the book, it's just, oh yeah, Adrian was glowing green against his face. and that's the moment. But in the movie, it's this like beautiful visceral imagery of this incredibly stunning planet taking up most of the screen, bathing him in this gorgeous green light. Like, it's just
swirls of blue and green, and it was amazing.
It's like surreal experience. It was very cool. Like, I kind of like, for me, the movie is now like a companion to the book.
Exactly.
It's gonna be a long time before I go back and read the book again. I will go watch the movie again when it's on streaming.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the reality. Like,
but it's a great companion piece. It's like it fits right in there. It's not really, I wouldn't say it's like competing with the book. No. I wouldn't say that it was
and it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. I think that it was a great fit. I think that it just went with it, and if you know the book and you were able to read it, then you have even more information about what was happening in the movie that wasn't quite said in the movie, but it was still there. You know, there were elements of it that were still present in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got this one team's perspective of what the story, like what the heart of the story was, and I think they really hit a lot of what resonated with me when I read the book.
Yeah.
And that's most of what I'm looking for when I'm going to see an adaptation of something, is like, I want you to evoke the same feelings. I don't necessarily need you to tell the exact same story. Like, if you are conveying the same emotions,
right,
I think you're doing most of what you need to do in an adaptation, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. I don't know that I really have much more to say about that one.
I don't. I mean, it was a really beautifully done movie, and
it was gorgeous. If you have time to go see it, I recommend it. It is definitely a see in theaters kind of movie. I know this podcast is coming out late for that particular recommendation. It might still be in theaters we're recording this on the 9th. This is coming out the following Saturday. I think it'll still be in theaters.
I'm not sure. We saw it pretty late.
Oh, we did. That's true. That's true. Okay. Well, if you get the chance, I do recommend go seeing it. If
you can't, then just be in a space, turn off all the lights, and watch it that way.
Yeah.
Just so you get like an experience of being in the void and just having that be the only thing going on.
This is a spectacle piece.
But yeah, no, it's really incredible. It's definitely worth the watch. Yeah. They did a great job with it. I mean, we have our little things that we were like, oh, maybe this could have been better. Yeah. Maybe I didn't quite like this, but overall, it was
residue of film school. Really,
yeah, exactly.
It's just like, well, I do have to render my opinion as though anybody gives a shit. Like, that's we can't help ourselves. But it's a great movie. Highly recommend. And if you're a reader, read the book. Listen to the audiobook. Do something. I personally. I prefer reading the book in cases like this, just because you have some things, like you still would run into that issue of the reader of the audiobook making choices for you. Right. Yeah. Because in the book, Rocky's dialogue, like before it's getting translated, is just written as music notes. And that leaves you to come up with what it sounds like in your head. In the audiobook, you had mentioned this to me, because I was debating which one I was going to do, and then I decided on the book, and you were happy about that. And after I got to the point where the music notes started coming around, you were like, "This is why I didn't want you to hear somebody else make music notes. I wanted you to decide what it sounded like in your head." Exactly. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
No shade to audiobooks, for the record. Audiobooks are reading.
I've heard that this audiobook in particular is really well done.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to hear it as well, just to see like what everybody's talking about there.
Absolutely.
So that might be my next read, is then I'll have it. I'll have the gauntlet.
Yeah, you'll have all 3 parts.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have what I read, I'll have the movie, I'll have the audiobook, and it'll be a complete cycle.
Perfect. I love it. So we're gonna have to figure out what we're reading next.
Yeah.
See maybe we can try and pull this again, see if something else is like being made into a movie, and maybe we can knock through the book really quick. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this one. Next one, we are actually going tonight to see
Operation Mincemeat.
We have the fortunate position of living in New York where we get to go see Broadway shows every once in a while.
Yeah.
Operation Mincemeat has a lot of really good reviews. You've seen it already and said you loved it.
Yes.
So we are going for her second time, my first time, so that I can finally see that, and we might talk about that a little bit on our next podcast.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Stay tuned. But with that, that's going to be it for today. So thanks so much for hanging out.
It's been a blast as always.
And we'll see you for the next one. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of the video. It really means a lot to us that you'd stay here and listen to us yap for over an hour while you're doing your laundry or your dishes or whatever it is you were up to. The Content Factory is finally spinning back up again, so I recommend checking out the other channels to see what we've got cooking. Maybe get a more tailored experience to what content you're looking for. And, if you really, really like us, check out the Patreon, see if you'd like to get access to some exclusives. Oh, and if you want to see us live, there's always the Twitch stream. Thanks for watching.